Okay, so now we are going to look at the second solution of your worksheet. So that's June 1988. I know these questions seem like so long ago, but they do bring similar type questions still, so that's why it's good practice. Alright, so we will start on the bottom here. Number 2, part A. The coordinates of A and B are 3, 5, and 7, 1 respectively. X is the midpoint of AB. They want you to calculate the length of AB, the gradient of AB, coordinates of X. Then determine the equation of the perpendicular bisector of AB and state the coordinates of the point at which the perpendicular bisector meets the y-axis. Alright, so part 1. So we have 2A part 1. Calculate the length of AB. So length of AB, we know to find the length of a line is the square root of x2 minus x1 all squared plus y2 minus y1 all squared. Label my A and B, x1, y1, x2, y2. Right. So this becomes 7 minus 3 all squared, add 1 take away 5 all squared. 7 take away 3 is 4, so this is 4 squared. 1 take away 5 is negative 4. So now this becomes the square root of 16, and negative 4 squared is also 16. So that's the square root of 16, add 16, which is 32. And we can bring up the calculator, and we get the square root of 32 would be, just give it a second, right? So 32 square root 5.7 to 1 decimal place. So equals 5.7 units, because they didn't give us centimeters or anything, so you just put units. So 1 decimal place. Next, the gradient of AB. So this will be 2A part 2. Gradient AB, we know this is y2 minus y1. So you see how important it is to know your formulas by heart. Let me do part 2 up here. So the gradient of AB is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This gives me 1 take away 5 all over 7 take away 3. This is minus 4 over 4, which is negative 1. So your gradient of AB is negative 1. 2A part 3. The coordinates of x. We know the midpoint because it told us x is the midpoint of AB. So we know how to find midpoint. X1 plus x2 all over 2. Now the midpoint is a point, so we know it's xy basically. y1 plus y2 all over 2. So we have x1 as 3, x2 is 7. So that's 3 add 7 all over 2. And then we have 5 add 1 over 2. 3 add 7 is 10 over 2. That, right? You won't work it out one time. 5 and 1 is 6 over 2. So therefore the midpoint x is 5, 3. So far the first 3 parts were really easy. Right? It's literally just had to know your formulae and substitute. So now we want to find part B. So 2b says determine the equation of the perpendicular bisector of AB. Bisector simply means where it is cut in half. It's meaning the line. So they're asking you to find the equation. So let's say this is your line, AB, and let's say this was the point X because that's the midpoint. They want you to find the line perpendicular to AB. Right? They want you to find the equation of this line. So we know to find the equation of the line, we need to know at least one point on the line. And we know x is 5, 3. And we need to find the gradient. We need to know the gradient of the line. We don't have the gradient yet, but we could find it. So let's start. Right. So since x is the midpoint of AB, x is a point on the perpendicular bisector. Of AB. Right? So that's one thing we know. And then we know since well we know the gradient of AB equals -1, therefore the gradient of the perpendicular bisector equal -1 over the gradient of AB. Remember we said any line perpendicular to another line is just -1 over the original line gradient. So that's -1 over, remember the gradient of AB from before is -1. So that's equal to 1. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 1 divided by 1 is 1. So now, using the point 5, 3, because that's x, and the gradient one. So now using the point 5, 3 and the gradient 1, substitute into the equation of a straight line to find the y-intercept. So we know the equation of a straight line is y equal mx plus c. We know we're going to substitute this as x, this as y, and this is m. So we get 3 is equal to 155 plus c. 3 is equal to 5 add c, or 5 add c is equal to 3 since we want to solve for c. So c would be 3 take away 5 because I carried the 5 across. So c is negative 2. So therefore the equation, alright, the pen is giving some problems, so we're just gonna type. So therefore the equation of the perpendicular bisector is y equal, remember it's 1x, so we don't have to write 1, plus, like take away 2. So y equal x take away 2 is the equation of the perpendicular bisector. But we have to make sure we actually answer the question, because the question asked, determine the equation of the perpendicular bisector, so we did that, and then they want us to state the coordinates of the point at which the bisector meets the y-axis. So where it meets the y-axis is literally just the y-intercept. So the y-intercept hold on. Right, and they wanted us to state the point, right? No, state the coordinates. So therefore we need to be x and y. So we say and the coordinates of the point where the perpendicular bisector meets the y-axis is the same as the y-intercept of the perpendicular bisector this point is 0, negative 2, because the y-intercept here is negative 2, and remember at that point x is always 0, right? So this was your answer. This was your B. So this was the answer to the first part of part B, and this was the answer to the second part. Go through it, make sure you understand it. Remember, you can stop the video at any point, replay it, right? Make sure you understand it fully.